Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to speak to you today. Thanks a lot for taking the time. I guess most people might have already dug right into The Crown Season 6, the first part. But what can people expect, particularly from this second part?
As far as I'm concerned, the relationship between Philip and William growing, where he offers him guidance and becomes a kind of mentor to him. And there's a lot of events, aren't there? There's a lot.
I think it's mainly
couple of
about
weddings.
Charles. Mainly about Charles, I think. This bit.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, you see.
I think we've got two funerals and a wedding.
Right.
Yeah, I think that happens.
It shifts to the younger generation, and I suppose William's relationship with his father and his grandfather, and then finally it ends up with where we began with the Queen and Prince Philip.
And of course, it's not the first time you're playing these characters, returning to them after the previous season, but maybe just casting your mind back, what was your approach on taking on these roles, knowing that these are, real people, real figures, and of course also picking up the baton from the previous actors, from Josh O'Connor, from Tobias Menzies. Were you sort of comparing notes? Did you go from a blank slate? What was your approach?
I think you have to go for as far as your approach to the character goes, because you're not really what Tobias did and Matt before has no relevance to Prince Philip now, as at the time I was playing him, and there's kind of a lot of reassurance about that. In that each time it's a new actor in a new period of that character's life. But I just went and I looked at lots of video of Philip, because what you say and what it's a given because Peter Morgan's written it, but it's finding how he says it and how he moved. That's very important. How he walked, how he carries himself in public, because those are the things that the audience know about. It's actually quite. I thought it might be a bit restricting, but it's actually quite freeing to play a character at that time.
Yeah, no, I'd like to say I thought this is a fresh start for Charles. I'm not going to look at Josh, and then I suddenly found myself looking at all of Josh's interviews, particularly the ones he gives you tips on how to play him. And he has this great one where he says when he gets out of the car and his fiddling thing, he does what is it, cuffs, pocket and collar. I think collar, cuffs, and pocket. And I thought, that's brilliant. And so I tried to do that, and whenever I got out of a car, which is the hardest thing to do, getting out of a car, and I found myself just thinking of Josh the whole time. So in this season, I had to rather try and forget about Josh.
What's interesting is that because it says a lot about the characters that Charles is fiddling a lot, and you look at the assurance of Philip, who just acts with great economy, and that's also very good to act.
Yeah,
it's very economical what you do. Like when he enters a room, even though he's got 100 people to talk to, he knows the next thing he does, he's going to go straight out the room. That's his focus, on getting out the room, and he has to shake hands on the way. But that's the difference between those two characters.
Father and son, yeah.
It feels like every new season, it's like, oh gosh, but the events that are portrayed in this one are the most important. But perhaps that's even more poignant with this season, and perhaps the closer we get to the present day as well, because it's all fresher in the minds of the audience, dealing with, not only the relevance of the monarchy, but of course, death of Princess Diana. I mean, what did it mean to you to be portraying these events? And I guess some of those scenes you have to share with the actor playing Prince William, really delving into some very sensitive topics from Prince Charles's point of view. How did you find navigating all that?
Well, it was heavy, it was really heavy, and we all remember that. Well, anyone over a certain age remembers these events really clearly, and it's sort of there's no way Peter could not have dealt with Diana's death, and it's such a massive event in our national life, never mind in the royal family, and so you do feel an immense responsibility about getting it right, but. Because Peter's such a good writer, and because this is dealing with universal themes of what it's like to be a parent, what it's like to grieve, what it's like to feel guilty about someone's death, that I did find myself just drawing on my own experience, really, rather than trying to, much less imagining what it must be like for him. It was fairly these are big themes, and the bigger the theme, the more universal they are, really. And so I was reacting as a parent rather than as a someone playing a part, I suppose.
Do you find yourself sort of wanting to really get inside their mind and sort of rationalise any of their decisions, or have any kind of your own sort of moralistic view on that, or are you just playing the character and playing the lines?
I think you get into trouble if you're acting. I don't know, Jonathan, if you agree. If you make any kind of judgment on your character, I think we all give ourselves the benefit of the doubt most of the time, and I think you do as an actor. You sort of you root for your character, and I think that's more realistic. I don't think anyone does anything, or very rarely, or unless they're psychopaths, does anything morally wrong. Is conscious of doing something morally wrong, and you get into trouble as an actor, I think, if you judge your character in any way.
And of course, during the shooting of the season, the passing of the Queen, what was it like setting foot back on to that set? And opposite Imelda Staunton, dressed as the Queen, must have just had like an added layer of poignancy for you.
I don't know if it did, actually. And I think if we'd felt that we needed to react in a different way to how we'd done it for the past year or so, it would have meant that maybe we were doing something wrong. And I think in many ways it reinforced my feeling that what we were doing was very right and very emotionally accurate.
And perhaps, though, as well, it feels like maybe it can give a level of comfort to audiences. I think a lot of people sort of did feel very moved by her passing. And I think it sort of adds, in some way, to the legacy of this show, which has obviously had accolades right from the beginning, right till now. But being part of this final season feels like an incredible note to end on.
Yeah, it feels like the right time as well. But it's interesting when you see the final scenes. It's very much the Queen and Philip are very much talking about the legacy of the royal family and how it will continue. And if anything, the Crown has enhanced the legacy of the royal family. I'll get killed by somebody for saying that, but there you go.
I think the funeral very much affected Peter's writing of these last episodes. I think it's very apparent that he hadn't written them by the time the Queen died, and so you do see Philip and the Queen talking about their funerals, and it's very much something I think that's affected his writing. But as you say, I think when she died, the viewing figures of The Crown went way up. For previous seasons, I suppose people were drawing comfort or trying to find some information about her, and I think in some ways that The Crown does that for audiences, and certainly these last 6 episodes will do that, I think.